Yeah, I just go to the dump box, I've been going to the dump for years, and now I might sign up, and it's only gonna be like $25 a month. Yeah, there's different sizes for containers. Yeah. Do you compost? Depends on what you compost. I think there's money to be made there. Somebody do it. Curbside compost.
Hello.
Did you miss us?
I did. Well, I'm especially happy to see you because now we have a quorum.
I beg your
I'm
pardon?
happy to see you. I'm especially
yes.
happy because now we have a quorum.
Now we can go ahead with this, right?
Now we can actually do things. Yes. How are you?
Good, yourself?
Yeah. Terry, hello. Oh, I didn't. She is certainly not planning to thank you. Thank you.
Okay. I think I actually have. I may have. I brought everything up. So I think I have stuff.
That's you.
It is, yes. Courtesy of Kate.
No problem.
Hi, Alana. Nice to meet you.
Condolences.
Oh, thank you. It makes me feel really good. Scare her away already.
Thanks for being here. This is great.
Super. Oh, okay, cool. Awesome, thank you. Hey, what are you doing?
And shouldn't one of them be stairs?
For the being a secondary dwelling, maybe I should.
And when I saw it, I called the building department, but Brian wasn't there.
Okay.
And I left a message, and I didn't get a response. So
That is a good question. The way I read it was an area variance because you need to have the allotted space
yeah,
to have the second dwelling.
but he's changing the use to commercial,
To residential.
residential.
Right. But, alright,
I know.
I just look, it's, yeah.
And I did not read the fine print in the
Right, so it says maximum number of principal buildings per lot, where residential dwellings are to be constructed no more than one principal building shall be permitted on a single lot, except in accordance. So it might be a use
yeah.
to change it to residential, but then it can't be changed to residential. Sorry, I'm
But it is commercial
Stream.
residential.
stream of consciousness.
I know, and
Yeah.
maybe Terry has a better feel for this.
The way I see it is it's an area because it says that you can have more than one residential if you have enough space
Okay.
to do so.
Are you
Okay.
speaking about the new application?
Yeah.
So it is from the density requirement, so you can only have one principal structure on the lot, which is why it would be an area variance. This is a permitted use in the district.
It is,
The
okay.
residential, yes.
Regardless of, yeah. the
So then
former
it's,
use.
Yes,
It
so
is
they're
a use
switching to
change.
another permitted
Okay.
use,
So
which then
there's-
makes it,
Doesn't need an additional.
doesn't need a use variance.
Good.
Thank you.
Now, my mind is at ease. Surprise.
We just want to make sure the correct variances were
We-
filed.
Right. Right, it's just a different use. Right.
Like 3 days ago. Say that. Do you have one? You have
Yes.
stuff, right?
Yeah, I came from my house.
Okay.
And you were out. You were
But yeah, I
at
work.
lunch.
Yeah, I work Tuesday through Thursday. So that's generally when I'll be here.
All right, I think we can get started because we are just a few minutes past 7. So I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. Before we get started, just want to welcome Alana as our new secretary.
Hi.
So new faces here, and welcome
Thank
to
you.
Madness. Great. So I think everyone has an agenda in front of them. I'd like to start off by doing the business matters. So approval of minutes from our last meeting. I'll give everyone a few moments to check through them if you haven't already, to make sure that everything looks the way it should.
I move approval.
Hmm?
I will move approval.
Okay. Approval has been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Now we will move on to ZB 17-13, the decision for North Mannheim. We came to a decision last meeting, and this is what our attorneys have written up. Has everyone had a chance to look through and read through the decision?
I move approval.
Okay.
Since we get these on our computer, I think we have an opportunity to read them all beforehand.
I know. I just like to
You're a good person.
give time to rehash memories. There is a move.
No.
Oh, good.
Do you have a problem? I know you had
And that's, yes.
voted no against the
Right.
the vote.
Yes.
Do you have a problem with the decision, or any changes that you think need to be made to the decision? And we can still move forward because we have majority, but I just want to make sure. I want to make sure if you think there's anything that needs to be changed.
There's not anything specific to the wording. of
Okay.
this. It's just the principle.
The principle. Great. Just wanted to make sure. Thank you. So I can sign this at the end of the meeting and give it to you, Ashley? Oh, no,
Sure,
for records. Sorry.
to Alana, and then
Thank you for
give it to
preparing
her.
it.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, and now let's just keep it moving. So we have 2 applications from the same applicant for ZB 18-02 and ZB 18-03 for a area variances on 48 North Chestnut. Would you please like to come forward?
Sure.
Hello. I'm going to give you a mic. So just, I think everyone's had a chance to look these over, but I'd like you to start off just to kind of state your case for submitting these applications?
Sure. So we're not asking for any changes to structures. We're not building anything. We're not making any changes to the property as it stands now. The rear building I have been using as an office, my own personal office for my business for the last 10 years. Anybody who knows the area, over the last 10 years, I've significantly improved that property with porches and siding and new windows and paving, etc. So at this point, I want to get a zoning for residential, and actually my son wants to live there. The front building is residential, so it would make the entire property residential at this point. From the commercial perspective, it's not on the front street, it's a back building. And other than if I want, for what I want to use it for, which is a family member, I began to use it for a commercial because the commercial rental rate was so low, it wasn't worth trying to rent it out, so I use it for.
Did you get a copy of the planner's letter from David Gilmore?
No, I have
You
not.
did not, okay.
Actually, I didn't even know there was a meeting tonight until I stopped by the building department yesterday.
Well, I'm glad you're able to make it today.
Ooh,
Yeah,
gosh.
that was a good.
Yeah, I was originally told there were so many people on the agenda that they weren't going to be able to squeeze me in, and they were going to try, so I just stopped by yesterday to see what happened and found out that we were on the agenda. So the opinion you're asking is by whom?
David Gilmore, our planner.
Oh, okay. And what was his recommendation?
Well, he indicated there needs to be a surveyor's stamp.
Yeah, there was. There are copies, and there were 2 originals I gave to Brian.
Okay.
Are these the copies? I just want to make sure that we all have the same information.
These are the copies. The 2 originals don't have the parking spaces marked out. And I made some notations in here about the sizes and stuff that I added into it. The 2 originals don't have that, and they do have surveyor stamps.
And I just want to make sure, because I just want to make sure I'm clear. When you say 2 originals, those are what you originally submitted?
No, I gave 12 copies of this, and I gave Bryant 2 originals with stamps.
Okay.
So for some reason, maybe the planner didn't see those.
Yeah.
There is not a labeled site plan with floor plans for existing or proposed dwelling. A scale bar, zoning dimension, yada, yada.
There's no need for that because we're not building anything. It's all existing space in the front building.
I think
If a planning board aspect and the zoning board aspect, so I think most of what is in his memo is really relevant to the planning board as opposed to the zoning issues.
Okay, that's interesting. 'Cause, yeah.
Personally, I would want to see what is planned for the interior.
It's all done. We're not renovating.
Is there already kitchen facility in there?
There's already a kitchen, there's a nice bathroom, there's all new windows in there, skylights, heating system, hot water. I had all that. That was part of my office space.
So there's absolutely no construction involved in this?
Nothing.
Nothing, it's just a matter of changing the use?
Not one little nail. We're
Just changing the use.
We're just changing the use.
Yeah, and I'll speak for myself, and I think others might agree that when going through these applications, because of the severity of the variance and how it's carried over in perpetuity to the site, having this information allows us to better make a decision because we'd like to know what it's being used for. A lot of times we can say a variance is dependent on the site plan as is, so that there are no changes afterward. If it's unless we are very detailed, or if we give a blanket variance, it might mean that then things can change and.
It's really as a site plan as is.
Oh well, that's just as we're saying, we don't have that site plan to review because there is no.
I wasn't asked to do anything other than pretty much the site plan with what's on the property, where, how much space the buildings take up, how much was parking, or anything else. That's what I was asked to do.
Okay.
The cottage is basically one room.
Mhm.
It's basically one large room with one small area in the back, which is what's going to be the bedroom, but that was where I had my desk, and that has a half wall. And then there was a conference area on the other side of the wall.
And it has water, electricity, heat.
There's water, electricity, it has cable, it has internet, it has a Mitsubishi heating system that does air and air conditioning, electric-based high efficiency. Yeah, there's nothing in these, everything's in there. It's got water, it's got sewer, it's not running into the backyard.
I'm sure your neighbors are happy about that.
So we just need to set a public hearing then. Other concerns?
As to the point where the memo was for the planning board as well as us, have you met with the planning board yet?
No, I think that's next week.
That's next week. I feel more comfortable having you meet with the planning board and discuss alternatives first.
What would it be alternatives?
Well, that's something that I can't say
Right.
at the outset, but maybe the planning board would know some of these things. We can still schedule a public hearing for the next meeting to move things along. However, I think that should be something that you discuss with the planning board.
I mean, the easiest way of doing this, which I'm trying to avoid, so I'm trying to avoid, wasting money and filling up space with nothing.
Yep. I understand there are things which you filled out in the application that we had to cover. One of them is to make sure that there's no other alternatives that can be, you've exhausted all other opportunities, that has been thought through. So I want to make sure these questions are asked, or when it comes time to make a decision that these have come up now and not later on when.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Now, for next month, I spoke to Bryant about this. I'm going to have somebody represent me.
Yeah.
And the question was, he thought it would be okay if that person had me on the phone so I could tell him the answers to questions. I'm going to be gone for the next 2.5 months.
Okay. I've never encountered that before, where if someone on the phone, I don't see any issues with it, but I want to know if others have either.
Who's on the phone? The attorney's gonna be here and you'll be on the phone?
Well, if I have to, I'll have an attorney here, but if not, I was just going to have a friend of mine who's competent enough to handle the discussion. And then I'll be on. So if he has a question for me, I'll just be lying on the phone with him. I'll probably hear what's going on and I can give him the answer.
Would it be possible for them to just bring the laptop and then have you present through Skype?
That certainly can happen, sure. Yeah. You have Wi-Fi?
As far as legal, we've had board members do it, so I think.
You have, okay.
Yeah, it's a new thing now.
Is there Wi-Fi available?
Yes, yes.
There is, okay, yeah. That's good to hear.
I think as long as someone is present representing.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, we definitely had like architects or others come in place of and answer questions for. I just never had that set up before, and part of it is administratively. We want to make sure that we are capable of providing the service before we tell you we can.
Right.
And
No,
part
that's
of-
why I'm asking also, just to make sure that I don't want to have a problem.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'm leaving in 2 weeks, so I was hoping I'd be able to get the mailings out for the public hearing prior to that.
I believe you just need to get the information to.
I just need to get the letter and the list of names so I can put it together.
Yeah, he needs, so I will send you out like a packet of documentation that tells you what you need to fill out and how you, I'm the new Christina. Yeah, so I give you like the names of all the people within 200 feet of the property, and then you have to notify those people, and I give you those names though. And then I give you like a sheet of paper you fill out that you hang up on the
Yeah, no,
property.
I've done this.
Yeah, so
I
it's
just
just
want,
all
I
that
know,
stuff.
I just didn't want to get it after March starts, when I'm not going to be here, and then wait.
Just
just two other matters. Under seeker, both of the variances are type 2 actions, so there's no further environmental review needed. As far as the referral to the county planning board under general municipal law, one of the variances that's for the lot size, that one's exempt from referral, but the second variance does need to be referred. There's no exemption for the two principal buildings on one lot. So that it just has to get sent to the,
Brian thought the fact that it's pre-existing, not a new structure, that it would not have to be happening, just keeping it simple.
because it's now for a variance to allow that to become residential. I don't see how that could, I hadn't spoken to Brian about that, but that would be referral to the county and they have an opportunity to comment.
And how long is that?
They have 30 days to do so. I don't believe it normally takes 30 days, but the only issue with that is the board just can't vote on that variance until they hear back one way or the other from
I'm just
the
hoping
county.
it's all possible to have this wrapped up on May. If it's possible. It's not, so if my son wants to move, and I already have a tenant who wants his space, he's in the front building.
Yeah, we definitely don't want this to take longer than it needs to, which is why we want to make sure that we cover all the bases and get these the hearing out and so on. So that's 90 days essentially from.
No, you would.
No,
they
it would be referred.
tonight.
It would be referred to them after tonight, and then we would have to wait for their response before we are able to move on for a decision. Even if the response is there's no impact.
Right, if they have 30 days, pretty much that's next month when we have the public hearing.
It could take up to 2, because if they have 30 days, especially since this is a short month, they could come after the next hearing, or our next meeting, and then we'd have to be for the following meeting, and that'd be grateful.
Was there anything else that I need to do other than do the mailing?
So there are a couple of things that could be problematic with this. Generally, as you mentioned just before,
Yep.
We have to consider, is there some other way to approach this to achieve what you want to be done? We're advised by the Department of State that we don't have a blank check. We can't just do anything. And one of the things the Department of State has said in their course on the introduction to zoning board of appeals, they make a point of saying that granting a variance to maximize profit is not a proper ZBA function. So for yourself as a business person, certainly it makes sense to want to do that you want to have the residents instead of the business a significant change to make. But when we have to do the consideration of factors involved, like there is the place on the front lawn to hang a business sign, so like you've been using the building as an office, it would not be appropriate at its location or size, I think, to have it for a retail use, for example.
Right.
So there are certain business uses that would not be practical. But for an office, the sign out front would be sufficient for a person to know where it is and to go and use it. So it may be that the property can yield greater profit as a residential, but that does not mean that it is cannot be profitable as an office or viable as an office space.
Part of my consideration in doing this is for my son who's handicapped. And so this is providing him with an adequate place for him to live. He's been dealing with moving to larger and larger spaces, and he's at a point where he can handle, we're trying to get him to handle having his own kitchen and taking care of his own needs rather than just having a room with a shared kitchen, which is what he has now. You know, so part of it is helping him move along his.
That granting variance goes with the property. So
He can go with the property. It's okay.
no, it means that somebody else who doesn't have the same circumstances you do, you know, you could have a circumstance where you say, for myself, for yourself, it would be very functional to get this, but those circumstances don't necessarily apply to someone else. And so we can't really take personal considerations into the consideration of this because the variance is so much more substantial. And the on the other hand, one of the things to look at is, does it benefit the community?
Right.
And in this case, the property as it is has a problem that the backyard setback, the buffer, the 15-foot buffer that should be in place is not. That the parking lot goes right up to the property line. And so when you have a business property in B1 zone abutting a residential property, the residential zone, there's a requirement to have a 15-foot.
I purchased a property, it was parking all the way to the back.
We can look at this as saying that if you were having a residential use, the change of use could be an opportunity to take up the 15 feet of blacktop along the back and put in the buffer area that the code requires, so that this could serve as an opportunity to resolve a problem with the property.
The only problem with that is I actually don't even use any of that parking except for a trailer I have there. That parking is used by a family of New Paltz during their 12-step meetings. People park in Seacoast lot and people park in my lot, and those what those spaces pretty much are used for. So by putting a buffer in, you're eliminating the parking that's necessary for family New
And
Paltz.
before we go further on this, I think this would be a very excellent topic that you might want to talk to the planning board about as well.
Right.
So is that something that we can
In
make sure
relation
they
to
understand?
your point about the families using the parking, taking up the blacktop to allow for the buffer would not mean removing the parking. It would mean moving the parking forward. It would lose one space. That's it. So you've got, well, there are 5+ spaces.
The problem back there is it's difficult to get stuff to grow because the previous owner, there had been a building back there, way back, that burned down. And at that point, the town allowed him to bury the burned building in the back of that property. So that building is actually filling in the existing foundation that was just covered over in terms of the parking. So it's not even that. You have an area that can be that could even be planted in because of the refuse. I can imagine that must be under there.
And that, again, I think it's a good opportunity to have a discussion with the planning board about it, get them to weigh in to see what they think as well, and then we can then have further conversation at the next meeting.
Okay.
Because you'll be meeting with the planning board next week, you said.
I believe it's next week.
Okay.
I think it's the 20th. How much?
Yeah, it's the 13th. Yeah. I also want to clarify too that on the map it says this is New York State Route 208. It should be 32, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Up here, it should be 32.
Yeah, I don't know why you put that.
Okay. I mean, if you're just looking at the continuation of
The
208.
surveyor's from Newburgh.
Huh?
The surveyor's from Newburgh, that's all I can tell you.
And I will add, that's also another reason that I do, we do like to have these plans in full, because these are things that we do take into consideration when looking at the variances. That's something that you can talk to the planning board about. I just know that, especially with asking for residential use of a property.
Yeah, that's what's
I
I mean, I have actually drawings, I have CAD drawings.
I prefer those, the CAD drawings. So that way we can refer back to it in the variance. And if we say, you know, this is a variance for the property as used, and refer back to those drawings.
Do you want a new plan with the 32 North, or that's not necessary?
Please have a new plan with it, yep. Just to clarify, when these records go into filing, if we ever need to refer back to it, I'd like to make sure that the most accurate records.
Right. Oh, I get that.
Yep, thank you.
Is there a way I can get a copy of that report?
Of the David's letter?
Thank you.
There's another discrepancy as well, just as far as the size of the lot. In your application papers, you said that I believe it was 11,700 square feet. The lot area on this survey is a little less than that, and I believe in the planner's memo it was a different square footage as well. We just want to make sure that we know how big the lot is, because that's how big the variance needs to be.
That number is based on what was on the computer screen.
Okay.
The lot size that came up on the county computer screen.
Mm-hmm.
So he based that square footage.
All right, well, then everything needs to match.
Well, he's basing it on the survey, so yeah, I don't know how accurate
Then
the
this-
county map is.
The survey would be the more accurate.
Probably.
Okay. Okay.
Anything else?
Nothing about the specifics. I just noticed that you said you paid the escrow in June of last year.
I had started the process.
Okay, that's what I figured. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, and then I waited forever to get these drawings.
I understand.
I mean, literally forever. That's what held it up.
Okay, that's, again, nothing about the application. I just was curious. Because I thought I remember seeing this come across, and then nothing happened with it, so. Great.
That's what it is. You don't always get what you want, when you want it.
Yeah.
And then I had them done, and then I was actually very ill for a couple of months, so I was unable to move forward on anything.
Okay. I don't have any further questions. Does anyone else? Okay. So I think our next steps are to hold a public hearing for next month. And Alana will send you the packet so that can get sent out as soon as possible.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Make a motion to set the public hearing for the two applications, and also to refer 1803 to the county.
Yes, thank you. So first we'll do the referral to the county. Is there a motion? I move to refer application 1803 to the county. Is there a second? All approved? Aye. Thank you. And then move to have a public hearing for the two applications for next month. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
That'll be at 7? Do you normally set it at a specific time, or?
We don't normally set a specific
Okay.
time because sometimes we need to.
What's the date for next month?
March
13th.
So it'll be March 13th and at 7, or assume there, right?
Yeah. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Well, thank you again for your time today.
Yeah, thank you very much. All right.
Have a great night.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right. So that's our meeting for tonight. Is there any? Mm-hmm. It's here to balance out some of the late ones. So.
Do you guys have like an agenda or meeting minutes that you post online? I'm a planning student at the university.
You got my meeting adjourned. Do I need a motion for adjourn?
Motion to-
Yeah, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. Sorry. Now, please come forward. Do you have questions or?
Oh, no, I just needed, you gave me an agenda, but you guys have meeting minutes. Do you post them online usually?
Yes,
Okay.
they'll be online. Do you want to give me your email?
Yeah, sure. If you
Email
wanna-
them to you?
Yeah.
I'm like yelling at you.
For a high school.
Yeah, I thought so too. That's why I didn't ask. I also, it's the wrong time of year. It usually is at the happy
It should
years.
go up on the Village of Newell website.
At the end of each semester, I think.
Yeah, right, because it's the course is a semester-long course, not a year-long. Oh, thank you everyone for coming out tonight and for your input.
What's your name?
Daniel.
Daniel, I'm Lauren.
Nice
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. So I'll turn these up. Just, Alana, just so you can send me planning board that questions for you.
Okay.
Or let Michael know.
Yeah.
That was brought up today.
Okay.
Thank you.
I was curious about that referral to the county. Planner said it wasn't necessary, it didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I spoke with him after that because
Good.
it's clear that the residential lot size isn't required to be referred, but the second one, the second variance, I think, yeah, it should. And because it's a jurisdictional issue with the referrals to the county, it's best to refer it. I'm sure that it's unlikely that they'll have much to say on such a small matter, but
Yeah.
it's best to do that. And as far as that process, are you
Wait, which process?
for referring to the county, to the
I
Ulster
have-
County?
That's
Okay.
not my job. Christina told me that that's not
Okay,
my job.
no, I believe David does that, but if you
Okay.
could let him know, I believe